Altcoins are coming to Wall Street, and that also means HBAR. Let's actually address this. Welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you guys are a subscriber to the channel. Now, recently, a post came up on my timeline from Anthony Pompliano, and we have altcoins are coming to Wall Street. Franklin Templeton is considering a big push into the altcoin market. This is the latest development for large financial institutions based on reporting from this individual at The Information. I'm not going to try to pronounce their name because I would just butcher it, but we have this fund would be targeted at institutional capital with a focus on crypto exposure outside of Bitcoin and Ether. While that may sound like a high-risk strategy, it actually is a natural progression for an asset manager. Investors are looking for returns. They want to risk capital and watch their money grow into more money. This is the essence of investing. Capital allocators have a lot of options of where to put their money. Stocks, bonds, currencies, real estate, commodities, crypto, the list goes on and on. But crypto appears to provide more risk than most asset classes, which in turn means that a higher potential return is present. You get paid for the risk you take. At least that is what the market should do, right? Because again, there could be uncertainties around the market. There could be a major sell-off, volatility, you name it. Now, here is the part that may seem counterintuitive. Wall Street loves risk. Many people believe the suits are risk adverse. They aren't smart. Wall Street doesn't know what is going on, but that is wrong. Wall Street has created the greatest casino in history. Every day, trillions of dollars are wagered in the market based on risk to reward. The more risk that is present, the more someone on Wall Street will seek out the opportunity. Just look at zero-day options. They now make up more than 50% of all option trading. Bet what you think will happen to the market by the end of the day. This is akin to gambling. This brings me to the altcoin market. And by the way, I do want to say, like, as we really look at Wall Street, I mean, just look at the GameStop fiasco. People love it. They eat it up. But beyond that, we have some of the assets that will have long-term value. Many of them won't. It doesn't really matter, though. Investors on Wall Street are no different than the crypto degens. They all want to find risk and volatility. The long-term value of an asset is much less important compared to the short-term opportunity. This approach violates everything you have learned about traditional investing principles, yet this is the current state of financial markets. Wall Street investors are going to flock to the altcoin market the same way they have flocked to zero-day options. If an asset moves, Wall Street will be there. If an asset moves a lot, Wall Street will be there with size. Franklin Templeton understands this. They wouldn't be contemplating this fund unless they felt there was significant demand for the strategy. Right now, the fund would be a private fund. Eventually, we will see public funds that give altcoin exposures inside the United States. You may not like it. You may disagree with the investment case for buying these assets, but the market is the referee, and it is telling you that altcoins are coming to Wall Street. And yes, they are. And ultimately speaking, as we even look at Franklin Templeton, let it be known that back in April, Franklin Templeton tokenized over $380 million on Polygon and Stellar, and this is through a U.S. government money fund. I want you all to succeed this alt season, so I put together a full list of tools that you guys can utilize to track where the largest whales are putting their money in this space that could ultimately net you a ton of ROI. I'm also giving out 30 free crypto gems that are fully researched and even broken down into specific risk categories. Both of these guides are completely free. All you have to do is claim your access right now by utilizing one of the links down in the description below. What are you guys waiting for? Make sure that you guys have access to this, especially for this alt season that is nearing. So this is pretty much a money market fund on both Stellar and Polygon. I think most of it is actually on Stellar. It's a $380 million amount. This originally happened back in 2023, but in 2024, this did get a big update. So again, this is something to note, and it does also show you how all in Franklin Templeton is as a massive asset manager. Now, outside of that, we also have over here from HBAR Tata, we have Anthony Pompliano is an advisor to Valor Funds, which is launching their first altcoin ETP, the HBAR ETP, on the Frankfurt Stock Exchange on June 18th. He believes altcoins are coming to Wall Street with FTI, considering a big push into the market. The fund would be targeted at institutional capital with a focus on crypto exposure outside of Bitcoin and Ether. The more risk that is present, the more someone on Wall Street will seek out the opportunity. Wall Street investors are going to flock to the altcoin market the same way they have flocked to zero-day options. Could this hint at an HBAR ETF soon in the US? Outside of an ETF, right? Like, regardless of if you want an ETF or not, I do think that pretty much any major player in the space, project-wise, will have an ETF. But I also want to say, as we look at Wall Street, yeah, they love risk. Crypto has risk, but also when you look at risk and you look at Hedera and you look at the GC behind Hedera and all these enterprise applications, you're like, all right, well, this has a lot of risk, but look at the names behind this. So it's actually something that I would argue presents an even better opportunity, because you get the risk aspect, but you also get the confidence of all of these big enterprises and these big players behind Hedera. So I think that as we really look at a big flood coming from Wall Street, Hedera is going to be the perfect project for this. But listen close to this 44-second long clip.
Risk is the more risk you take, the more return you should get paid for having taken that risk. And so in crypto, there is immense risk. But the further you get on the coin market cap list, the more risk you're taking. And therefore, you're going to need to drive a higher and higher return to compensate you for that risk. And that's exactly what Wall Street's looking for. Wall Street loves things that go up 10%. They love things even more that go up 100%. But if you show up and say, there's an asset that may go up 10,000% or it may go to zero, you have a line out the door of Wall Street investors who say, let me understand what this is. Let me try to value it. Let me try to predict the future. And I'm willing to risk a little bit of dollars in order to make a big return. Risk.
And he is right. Like, as we really look at these big players, they want in on the game and they're already here. I mean, most of these big asset managers and Wall Street big players, right? We're not talking about Wall Street themselves, but the players behind Wall Street, like Franklin Templeton, or the big banks like JP Morgan and Citi, or even, BlackRock, like they're all here. They're all ready. Now, talking about big players like JP Morgan and Citi and how they want to put Wall Street on a blockchain. That's right. They said this back in July. They said, why big banks like JP Morgan and Citi want to put Wall Street on a blockchain? Interesting. And we have key points. US financial institutions want to use blockchain to speed up trades on Wall Street. 5 trillion in assets could be tokenized on blockchains in the next 5 years, according to a June report from Bernstein. The technology could face headwinds from US regulators. Now, outside of this, right, Securitize. Back in March, Securitize announced that they partnered with BlackRock. Together, they're launching this BlackRock USD Institutional Digital Liquidity Fund, or BUILD. It will provide investors with the opportunity to earn US dollar yields by subscribing to the fund with securitized markets. The initial ecosystem participants, now focus on this, will include Anchorage, BitGo, Coinbase, Fireblocks, among other market participants and infrastructure providers in the crypto industry. Now, why is this significant? Well, I'm going to address one of the names on this list, but as we look at BlackRock, we know that they're all in. In fact, they already said that, yeah, it's going to start with ETFs, then it's going to go to tokenization. And even in terms of tokenization, back on May 1st, BlackRock doubles down on tokenization via investment into Securitize. And beyond this, right, they did launch their major fund on Ethereum as well, which we do know about. But also, just recently, big announcement, BlackRock Citadel backed Texas Stock Exchange in challenge to the NYSE. Now, as we look at this, right, I've talked about this in the past. I do believe that this will be tokenized. But what does Hedera have to do with all of this? What does Hedera have a hand in? Well, we know BitGo, right? One of the largest players in the space, BitGo. They joined the Hedera Council to further the success of the Hedera network and support innovation. Now, if we go back to this, right, they are one of 4 players in terms of the ecosystem participants. As we look at this and we scroll down, we can see that BitGo launched in 2013 and they have over 1,500 clients globally across 50 countries. BitGo provides highly secure hot wallets and multi-jurisdictional regulated custodial cold wallets with a single platform and a unified API. Now, beyond this, BitGo invested significant engineering and product time to add wallet as a service and qualified custody support for the Hedera token service, and it already runs 6 mirror nodes on Hedera, the open source leaderless proof of stake network. Now, HTS is big because that's the token service. That is the tokenization service on Hedera. Okay, just want to mention that as well. Beyond this, we have a few quotes. There is immense value in our diversity of purpose-driven networks, which is why we remain steadfast in our support for Hedera as a network that will push the boundaries of use cases, product development, and performance limits. BitGo has played a leading role in Web3 since its inception, so we recognize that it takes many participants to come together to drive real change. We see significant opportunities for future product development with Hedera through our involvement with Hedera Council, especially in the context of real-world tokenization, settlement, and payment verticals, which is a very big thing because as we really look at this, right, BlackRock is working with Securitize around tokenization services. This, to me, could ultimately blossom into a much larger use case for Hedera technically down the road. We don't know yet if this is going to happen, but I'm speculating here. But beyond this, right, we know Archix back in April, very controversial announcement, right? We've talked about it in the past. Archix increases tokenized money market fund offerings, and this is with BlackRock, Hedera, and Onera. Now, yes, BlackRock had to sign off. Yes, BlackRock is aware that Hedera is going to be utilized. Like, I don't think that I need to mention this, but you know, I want to say that Hedera has become a prime player around tokenization. Okay, and if we're starting to see things changing around Wall Street, and if we are going to have Wall Street put on a blockchain, and if we're starting to see the big players really kind of rising right now, I do look at Hedera. I do look at Hedera because when we look at the GC around it, when we look at the connections around Hedera, and then you actually look at the use cases and you go to some of these, like the stablecoin studio, for an example, which is huge. And then you actually look at the real world asset tokenization category on their website under use cases, you can see that there's already over 8 billion plus in terms of the market cap on Hedera. 150 million plus TVL on Hedera, over 50 million plus in tokenized assets already on Hedera. Now, outside of that, we also know that there's so many tokenization use cases blossoming around the Hedera ecosystem, and we already know that Hedera has significant connections out there with some very prominent names like Aberdeen. Even Archix technically is a major name. And then outside of that, you also have Toko with DLA Piper. You have Red Swan. Like, these are big names that are already doing very large things around, you know, real estate tokenization, or, you know, there's so many opportunities out there in terms of the financial world and asset classes that could be tokenized. And I do think that Hedera is home for a lot of these big players. And it also puts a lot of confidence behind Hedera when it comes to tokenization. So as we do look at Wall Street coming to this space, and as we look at, you know, altcoins going to Wall Street, I don't necessarily look at it as altcoins are coming to Wall Street. I think it's more so as, you know, Wall Street is coming to this market, because I do think that Wall Street is eyeing the space. I think that Wall Street understands this space, and I think that they want a big piece of this space. And how can they do that? Well, the best part about this is that you will have ETFs. You will have ETFs. You'll have these ETPs like this one with, you know, HBAR with Valor Funds, for an example, which is a big deal. But beyond that, you'll also have Wall Street begin to be tokenized, because that is the ultimate goal here. Even BlackRock told you guys this. Pretty much every single financial leader out there will say, like, it just makes sense. And that's why when we really look at like the big banks like JP Morgan and Citi, which, by the way, these big banks, they never lose. They only get bigger when, you know, times get rough. Go back to 2008, for an example. And if they're telling you that, hey, we want to put Wall Street on a blockchain, you can pretty much bet that this is going to happen and win. So with that in mind, I do hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely leave a like, subscribe, to notifications on, because more free content. You guys more than follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.